live.
What's up, everybody?
Hello.
Welcome to our last episode of Fourth Wing.
For now.
For now.
For now. Do we know when the next book is coming out?
I don't know.
I meant to look it up before the show started.
Not exactly sure.
You should give that a Google real quick. Boy, this is a good one.
Yeah, for sure. You want to start?
This is a good one. Welcome to Books We Never Read.
Except for those we have.
I'm Nicole.
And I'm Jason.
And this is episode 54. Can you even believe that?
That's weird.
Of Books We Never Read, we'll be talking about chapters 27 through the end of Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. Is that really her name?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, Mrs. Yarros. But really, we'll be talking about the whole book. So, please make sure before you get too far into this episode that this is really what you intend to be watching, because we talk about everything as if you've already read it too. So there's spoilers everywhere. Just a quick reminder, we're playlisted in Google Music if you want to just listen to the podcast version of the show. And we're on Goodreads in case you want to take the conversation off of YouTube. That's really where one of our subscribers who's been here from the beginning, Greg Fox, he gets some really deep discussion in on the Goodreads just because the format's a little easier for long form analysis and discussion and stuff. And it's a really good time. So I really recommend that you check it out just to dive a little bit deeper. You can even relive some of our past reads. We've got tons of other books available for discussion if you are new to the show, and we welcome you to comment on anything that we've done in the past because we love reliving the books. And yes, Peggy, I just saw your comment. Jack is dead. That happened at the beginning of this section of the reading, and so much other stuff happened that I had totally forgotten that was taken care of.
It was kind of small potatoes. But before we get into the book, also, if you are new to watching these, we read everything, all kinds of stuff, and we would love for you to join us in reading different things, because the point of this is to get you out of your comfort zone. So go back and take a look at our playlists of other books we've read, and you can join along, comment. If you want to know what we're going to read in the future, you can subscribe. But we want everybody to read with us, because our next book is going to be a fun time shenanigans thing. Wrong Place, Wrong Time by Gillian McAllister. And so we're really excited about that. My mom already started. She might be in the chat, and she said it's fantastic. So that's really great.
Nice.
Yeah. All right, you want to hop in?
Let's do it. Okay, Jack is dead.
Well, so hang on. This is good. Y'all might remember this is good. You might remember that whenever we first started, I was like, it's got all these, it's got less than 1% 1-star reviews on Goodreads. And I thought that sounded kind of sketchy. I really did.
Yeah.
But it's warranted. I mean, this book is good. And the thing I think I'm most impressed about, especially now that we're here at the end, is her ability to build up tension, whether it be sexual tension or war tension or whatever. She really juices it for everything it's worth, and she knows how to. There's got to be some formula, right? We've been 25 pages without some crazy reveal. Let's drop something now.
Yeah. And
you get these things, and it just makes you keep going. And then she ends the book on one. Man,
brilliant.
Yeah, I'm just really impressed. I really am. So it is written in a very different style than other fantasy things that I am currently reading, Brandon Sanderson and things like that. But that does not mean in any way that this is less of a fantasy, because she does abandon some of the standard things, I think. So.
Okay, so just to catch up on what everyone in the comments is saying about the book too. It sounds like everyone is enjoying this book and is looking forward to the next book. So that's Peggy and Shelby. Peggy says about our variety of books: giant spiders, pumpkin spice, vampires, smoking in front of art, aliens. Yay, books! I mean, that kind of sums up what season 1 was for us, I'm excited about the next book.
Sure. Now, we've already got our next 2 books planned out, but this next one, did somebody tell us? This next one comes out soon. And so I think it's November or December of this year. And if I'm not mistaken, there's a 3rd one, and it's already written. And so they're just, because this book came out really recently.
Yeah, she's really
April
launching these out. Yeah.
So we may not have all that long to read, but I think we're committed once once it's out and like relatively easy for people to get.
Yeah.
Uh,
I mean, go ahead and waitlist it. You know, if it's available, as soon as you
Yeah.
see that it's available from the
Go
library
ahead
to
and
get
grab
yourself
that.
on the wait
Yeah.
list, go ahead and do it. Um, man.
So let's go ahead and talk. What do you want to talk about?
Oh, okay. So Peggy says the reveal of Brennan. Now I want to know about Nowlin. That's Taryn's last rider. What if Taryn has two bonded riders? Says Shelby.
Hmm.
I'm also curious about Violet's father. You know, did he really have a heart attack?
Yeah.
Was he poisoned? Because he knows about these wyvern and
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
venom.
I I really like this book. I think the explanation here at the end of what's going on was a little weak, and like I could have used a little better explanation
Mm-hmm.
or like a better tying in of things. And I have the same thought now that we know Brennan is alive somehow. Um, let's roll it back for a second. Do they really think Brennan is dead, or are they just lying to people? I think they really think Brennan is dead. You
Who's
know,
they?
like people in general, like
Okay.
General Soaringale. I don't think would just like let her own son run around with resistance people, whatever that means. You know, I think she thinks he's dead, which to me means like if you didn't find a body, which obviously they didn't, why would you think he's dead? And it must be that they found his dragon's body, right?
Mm.
But if his dragon is dead, how is Brennan alive? And so I think that might be one of the early reveals in the next book is that
Mm-hmm.
somehow Brennan has managed to survive his own dragon dying. But he also still has his power. So like what does that mean? Is the dragon also still alive?
Mm-hmm.
What's going on? So I do think it is likely that the father was killed somehow.
Mm-hmm.
The part I don't understand is like why everybody doesn't know about these Venom things. They have a trading outpost where they go and they talk to people who are from the other country who would tell them like, "Hey guys, we've got some crazy stuff happening over here." The whole concept that it's able to be a secret and that they are willing to kill people for the secret never quite added up to me. I don't quite understand what's
Mm-hmm.
happening there. But I do agree. I think it is likely that Old Man Soaringale was killed off.
Yeah, for sure. Um, I like how we were getting hints from Brennan, from his book of Brennan.
Mm-hmm.
You know that this would be the outcome, that he was still alive, but that he was the enemy now.
Was it?
Yeah. So I just happened to randomly flip
Oh,
to the
okay.
beginning of one, and part of his quote from page 80 of the Book of Brennan.
Mm-hmm.
Eventually, those closest to us become our enemies in some way, even if it's through well-intentioned love or apathy, or if we live long enough to be their villains.
Oh wow,
Yeah.
interesting. So
So
yeah,
I
okay,
mean, you know, Brennan must have seen some of this brewing,
right.
you know, and I do like how this book makes this concept of war complicated. It's never
Mm-hmm.
just good guys, bad guys. A line, a geographical imaginary line cannot separate people
Sure.
from on one side or the other.
Right.
Now, in their case, they have more than an imaginary line. They have a ward, you know, that
Yeah.
protects their land. But, you know, sometimes who starts as your ally becomes your enemy, and we see real
Yeah.
examples of that. And
Sure.
sometimes who starts as your enemy becomes your ally,
Yeah.
as we're seeing with the Griffins.
Yeah.
And so I like how complicated this is. I like how realistic it is that people are not, governments aren't enough to make people enemies.
Yeah.
You know, there are real issues. The government has their own fight, and the people have their
Yeah.
own. And people are worried about food and shelter and safety and being able to raise the next generation.
Yeah.
And that's very realistic. And that's what I love about books, because you can take these imaginary concepts and help, like, let those concepts ground you in real life scenarios, real wars, real conflicts. You know, the governments have their own fight, but then there's people.
Yeah. Sure. Sure.
And that's what Violet understands. And so we really see how powerful Violet will be in this new war.
Yeah. But I agree, but like, what are they fighting about? Like, I don't understand. That was one part I didn't really get. So there's this. So number one, we have this like burned down city
Mm-hmm.
that was the capital of this rebellion. That was 5 years ago, and nobody cares enough to like come check on it every now and then and make sure it's like still burned down. They were like, oh, nobody cares anymore. Like, what are you talking about? Nobody like flies over this point. Is like, hey, that's weird. There's a lot more buildings there than last time I was here. That part was all very like
Mm-hmm.
suspect to me. I didn't. I don't know. But then it's they ask her like, hey, do you want to join the resistance? And Violet, she just says like yes, and it's not clear what that means and what they're doing.
Right.
And they say, and I don't think this part was all that clear either, but the original rebellion that was led by Fen Ryerson was because they knew about
The wyvern and
they knew about that stuff
yeah.
and that it couldn't affect them because they're behind their wards, but that they're killing other people. And then the government was just like, shh, we're going to kill you now and your kids. And like, that's the point. I don't know. That part was really weird to me.
Well, so they're living in this bubble
Hmm.
essentially, and allowing the destruction of everyone near them.
Yeah.
And so I think that that's the issue that they're taking up is we could protect ourselves. Why aren't we reaching out to help protect other people?
Yeah.
You know, we have this ability and this resource to make this magic in the wards.
Yeah.
That's what the wyvern and the whatever they're called
Yeah.
feed on. There's something like a resource battle there as
Yeah.
well, but we're letting innocent people fall victim to the violence of the wyvern
Yeah.
just to protect ourselves.
Yeah. I just thought that part was kind of weak. Like
Mm-hmm.
you could just oh, like a war is costly. And if
Mm-hmm.
somebody's saying venom are real, you'd be like, that man's crazy. And that would do the same job, right?
Yeah.
Like it would just do the exact same
Well,
thing.
so there must be something more that we're
Yeah.
gonna get.
I guess, yeah, but and then like, what does resistance mean? We also don't know like how. So Zayden is giving them these weapons.
Yeah.
We don't know where he's getting them from, which I assume he's stealing them from Basquiat. But like, what do I know? We also don't know like, so how do you know these people, right?
Yeah.
And I assume that he knows them from more or less his childhood.
Mm-hmm.
However, his father knew about this stuff must be how he knows this girl, and that's how they're trading these weapons or whatever. We also don't know exactly. So these daggers are made from the same thing that the wards are made from,
Mm-hmm.
and we don't know what that is. So like, why does Navarre have this, but Paromial or whatever the other
Mm-hmm.
country is called? Why don't they have that?
I want to go back and reread the beginning.
Uh-huh.
A lot of that information dump
Yeah.
included a lot of talk about resources and borders
Hmm.
and what each country had.
Yeah. I have a feel. So the thing that Navarre has that the other country doesn't have is dragons, right? And we know that somehow like dragon magic is the only thing that can work within the wards.
Mm-hmm.
It would not surprise me if we find out that this magical material is in fact dragon bones or something dragon related, you know. Or like, what if it's like calcified dragon soul? Like, I don't know, it could be anything, I don't
Mm-hmm.
know. um, but I kind of expect that to happen because why else would these people not have it, you
Right.
know? So
Yeah. So we've got some trash talk in the comment about Dane. You know, what a poop head thing to do for his own advancement.
Yeah.
I mean, and by the time that reveal came that he had betrayed her by taking her memories without her consent,
yeah,
it didn't even hit that hard. I saw it coming.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
what a jerk.
Well, and then so the government knows, and it's not even like just the king knows, right? Like Dane's
Mm-hmm.
dad, who was a
Mm-hmm.
random colonel, knows about this upcoming venom attack,
Mm-hmm.
abandons their own fort, sends the kids there to try to get them killed, but sends Violet with them,
Mm-hmm.
which will probably get him in trouble. Or, I don't know that.
Well, it's because she
Yeah.
refused to stay.
But like Dane could have told his dad, like, hey, and maybe we should change things, and doesn't.
No, that's why Dane said, I'll miss you, because he knew she was going to
Yeah.
die.
Yeah.
Like, he was willing for her to just die, just to,
Yeah.
like, end this and be done.
Yeah. And I'll still maintain that we have now seen marked ones break the law, but we still haven't seen them do anything that I would consider like wrong.
Right.
They've definitely never like lied to people. They've never what's up with this thing about you can't see them
If there's
more?
three,
Yeah.
how
That's
interesting.
weird. Yeah. I mean, like, whatever. It's a magical world. I don't care. But yeah, how strange. How strange.
Yeah, and when Mira said that she saw dragons on the other side of the battle, now we know.
It was wyverns.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ugh.
You know, after Liam dies, there's all this talk about Liam dying, and there's another one who dies, and we just don't talk about it ever again. There was another girl that died.
Yeah.
Whenever
well,
her.
Soleil.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, because we weren't close to Soleil.
I know, but like everybody's like, "Oh, Liam," and there's somebody in the back being like, "What about Soleil?"
I tell you what, I was crying real tears when Liam died.
I was asleep and she was reading it in bed, and the next day she was like, Did my crying not wake you up?" And I'm like, "From what? I haven't made it that far."
Oh, I was just a boohooing. But it was the whole like the description of the suffering of the dragon as well,
Yeah,
and how
yeah.
they were tied together, and then also because Liam was a very good friend to Violet, and the fact that their last discussion was just about betrayal, and like their friendship just got kind of ruined by that. And
Yeah, that was a really great scene. It was a very long battle as far as like books go. I feel like a lot of times books will just like skip generally battles, and they'll give you just like little bits of highlights, but they did it all.
Yeah. So one thing this author can do is she can write a full scene.
Oh yeah.
Spicy level.
Spice level 9,000.
That scene went on and on and on,
Yeah.
but it was so well written.
Well, there was stuff left in the room that they could break, so they got to keep going.
Oh, I was dying. Okay, so Peggy mentioned that, if people can wield magic without the use of dragons, they can pull uncontrolled magic from the ground itself. The king would not want people to be able to do that, because then he doesn't have control.
Yeah, I mean, like, obviously it turns you into like a psychopath also,
Yeah.
So there's
with their like
that.
red veins.
But I mean, they can't do that because they're behind the wards.
Yeah. But then that could create an empire that could rival Navarre.
Yeah, which is why you would want to know about it, so you can go and kill those people.
Yeah.
The whole thing, with wards failing at this point, that means that venom attacks are potentially possible.
Yeah.
And I don't understand why they just like would be like, all right, now it's time to tell people, let's do this.
Maybe the king can actually benefit from these wards failing.
Yeah. I have a feeling that we are going to find out that like there's this myth, right, about the brothers, and one bonds a griffin and a dragon and the other one whatever. What if Navarre somehow made the first venom during like the War of Retribution or reunification or whatever it was, and that's really like the secret is like, oh, we did this.
We created what we're battling, which is
that motivation makes more sense to me than just like we don't want people to know that there's like human-sized nuclear weapons running around.
Well, and that motivation is the realistic one.
Yeah.
I mean, we often find ourselves fighting
what
we have created.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So that's it's pretty realistic.
Yeah. But so that part makes sense to me. It's just that at this point, the government's motivation, I don't get it. I just don't.
Shelby read the spicy scene at the airport. She was blushing. It goes back to that comment you made about like, you used to like talk to people and be like, oh yeah, I'm reading a romance book, and you didn't realize like that you should be like, should I leave the room? The Venom have teachers. They're human. Mm-hmm. The book is throwing off Disney Brave vibes. I've never seen that.
I've never seen Brave either. We should watch it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But so that's kind of interesting that they've set up this like other school. I want to say this too, is that we get a lot of exposition early on about how much dragons hate griffins, and then there is none of that when they actually meet.
There's a whole lot of stuff that the humans say that the dragons seem to be very unconcerned with. And that has entertained me throughout.
Yeah.
That the humans are trying so hard to, like, we have control here and we're making the call.
Yeah.
You're not doing, you are at the whims of the dragons.
Yeah. But, you know, they make some jokes about, like, griffins tasting good. And I think the deal is that griffins like dragon eggs. And so, like, obviously they don't like each other. But it doesn't seem to be, like, that big a deal.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's no question on the dragon's part about, like, hey, do we go help griffin people?
Mm-hmm.
They're just like, nah. Yeah, of course we're going to do that. You know? And I just thought that was interesting. That, like, that was not there. And it may just not have been written. Or it may not really exist in the same way it has been, you know, pitched. Because Taryn knows a lot. Taryn been keeping secrets.
Mm-hmm.
I know Zayden's been keeping secrets, but like, I expect him to, and I get that. And I do not approve of Violet's like anger about his secrets, because it makes sense to me.
Yeah.
He wasn't like lying to you about like hooking up with other people or nothing. He was lying to you about breaking the law and doing like weapon shipments because you have a best friend who can touch your face and read your memories. Seems reasonable to me.
Yeah, but it was the doing things against the government that kind of like broke her heart.
I guess, but then she's just like, I'm in.
Yeah.
Without knowing what's...
Well, because she saw it. She saw
Yeah.
the people running for their lives
Yeah. But like
from these venom.
we still don't know that... We know, but we don't know for sure that the government knows about this stuff.
Oh, we know.
You know, the note could have been, well, like, you're going to be attacked by griffins. I mean, like, it could have theoretically... If you were Violet and you were trying to make sense of all this stuff in a short amount of time, you could create all kinds of different theories about, like, what's going on. Denial, right? People do this.
Right.
You know? And she skipped all that and was just like, yeah, it's for real. And that's fine, because she's right.
Yeah.
But, you know... You can't be mad at him for betraying the government when he has good reasons, when you're just going to be like, yeah, I'm in.
Yeah.
Like, you didn't even try. You didn't even try.
Well, she doesn't have a choice but to be in. And that might be part of it, too. And again, what she said she was mad at was the fact that he didn't give her a chance to make the right choice.
Because she has a mind-reading best friend.
Yeah.
I don't care. Like, I would do...
I mean, I get it.
Heads up, I would
it.
do the same.
I get it.
It's called plausible deniability. And I think, too, that... oh, man. Really, I think she should be more upset with Taryn than anything else. Because it's not Taryn's place to talk about, like, the weapon shipments. So he doesn't need to do that. But he knows about, like, Wyvern and Venom and all this stuff. And
he
then just...
suspected. He hadn't seen it himself.
Well, they could have had that
She's
conversation.
like, did you know about this?
Yeah.
And he said, I had a feeling.
Yeah. They should have talked about that. Taryn keeps more secrets from her and like that are unwarranted. Because Taryn has told her a lot of stuff. He's told her about Feathertails. He's told her about like the hierarchy of dragon culture. He's told her all kinds of stuff that nobody has ever known.
Mm-hmm.
And then he's like, I'm not going to tell you this though. Like, come on, buddy. Like, you're already in it. Let's do it.
And he acknowledged, he said, I withheld information to try to protect you, and I'll never do it again.
Yeah, true.
I really like Taryn,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and I like his little grumbling responses in her brain. I like his little buttons. And I also like how like hard he is on her. And but then at the same time, the concessions he makes to keep her alive, you know, the saddle and all that stuff. And again, it just shows like this is the dragon's world.
Yeah.
And the humans are just living in it. And it just becomes very apparent throughout that like he's got his own thing going on, and no, dragons don't have saddles, but he really needs Violet.
Yeah. Well, you know, and this goes I made a number of predictions, I guess, and this goes back to like most of the ones I made, that it's going to be like this overthrowing of the old ways of doing things because there's this external threat. And like that's not a good reason to like get over your old hates, you know. It's just because there's somebody bigger out there who could kill you. But it is true, and that does happen, you know. So
yeah, man.
So let's do this one. What's the box? What are the Venom trying to get from that random town? There's a box, right?
There's a box.
And they have it now. I think
Do they?
Violet and the writers all have the box.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's hit up the chat with that.
I don't know. I really have no good guesses. There's no hints, I don't think, as to what they're about.
Yeah, I might should reread that part.
I'll be honest, I read the last bit several times, like, before bed, and so, like, maybe I just didn't appreciate it the way I could have if I was fully conscious.
But it's what the purple guy was trying. He was
Yeah.
at the clock tower.
Yeah.
Trying to get.
Yeah.
What would? I should have already reread the beginning. Like, what resource do they have?
This is going to be something like super special, you know.
Yeah.
I don't know. It could be like a tome of magic or something. Yeah, I don't know.
One of the forbidden books.
Yeah. Yeah, like Violet's dad just gave her a random forbidden book, and she's been carrying it around in her backpack.
Not realizing.
Yeah.
She's like, whoa, is it in the library?
Yeah.
Violet has a lot to unpack here. You know, her whole perception of the world has been flipped upside down.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like, her mom's a bad guy, which, duh. But,
Well,
like...
you know, and I wasn't sure because the excerpts that we have from her mom at the beginning of the chapters showed some elements of humanity. Like, she disagreed with the children watching their parents be executed.
Yeah.
And stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so I kind of thought that maybe we would at some point get, you know, I was in this place and I, of course, had to, like, sacrifice some things, but I did try to, like, do the right thing. But we're not going to get that. She's going to be terrible.
Do we know anyone who's actually fought a griffin? Like, has Mira fought griffins before? Like, yeah, right?
She's got that scar, right? Yeah, because didn't... Well, you know what? I don't know.
So here's what I'm thinking now. And like, maybe griffin attacks are real because they're trying to get weapons to fight off the venom and or whatever. I don't know. But maybe... So this would make sense if it's kind of like a 1984 sort of thing where there's this, like, eternal war, and that's what props up the government. It was 1984, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so... Navarre claims that they are at war with these Griffin riders, and it's like an existential threat, and that's what keeps the government in power, when really the Griffin riders are like, bro, let us in. It's getting crazy out here. That makes sense to me. All right. I choose to believe that.
Yeah, we'll find out in the next book. Yeah. I hate that it's not out yet. Oh, man.
Yeah. So yeah, maybe obviously they fight griffins, that's fine, but maybe the other country isn't trying to just, like, overthrow them.
Right. It's the reasoning behind the fights is what the lie is.
Yeah. I still think the trade place is, like, the weak point. Those people would talk to each other, you know, and share stories and be like, we've seen some crazy stuff. So, but whatever. I've never met one of the traders yet. Maybe it's all dragon riders for all I know.
Yeah. Crazy.
Yeah.
That was good. Expectations of Spicy for the next book.
Spice level 900,000.
Will the spice still be between?
The spice must flow. I've been waiting to make that joke.
Between Xaden and Violet.
Yeah, for sure. There might be, like, some side quests or something, you know, I don't know. But
I mean, I think in book 2 they won't be getting together.
Maybe.
That's the, you know, that's the thing, right? Like they're apart. They're going to be a team and they're going to work together. But, like, the romance is gone. Yeah.
Side note, I think the last chapter being told from Xaden's point of view was really cool. That was surprising and interesting.
Yeah.
But now maybe they don't get together, but I think Violet is being unreasonable. I do. And so
she's just mad that she didn't see the writing on the wall. You know, she's mad that she's been bamboozled.
That's a personal problem.
But right, it is a personal problem, and relationships are very personal, and you've got to work through these things.
Yeah, but I hashtag Xaden did nothing wrong, right? Like I don't think he did anything wrong. Did he do everything right? No, but I don't think that's possible. So,
Yeah. But I mean, she's dealing with
yeah.
more betrayals than just Zayden's.
Yeah. Well, they didn't tell each other that they loved each other until about 3 hours ago, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like when this was about to like all go down. And so he doesn't have like an informational commitment to her. They're like, okay, we're doing this, we're into each other, whatever. That's fine. You know, he doesn't have to tell her everything because this ain't real yet. You know, they haven't signed the papers.
Right. They haven't had the commitment barbecue.
Yeah.
Peggy says, and we're putting bets down on it, she thinks that they'll hook up by chapter 10 in the new book.
Deal.
Okay. Here we are.
I'll take that bet. That sounds good. Yeah. And Violet is a young person, right? And so that does make sense. Exempt Zayden, that's hilarious.
That's what I'm thinking. She's 20 and those emotions and just trying to navigate all of that stuff on top of the incredible stress of having gone through the school. The fact that she is still alive.
Well, they just did a battle that they didn't like expect against the greatest enemy the world has. I mean, yes, she has a lot going on. She's also woken up concussed with poison in her brain.
Yeah.
She ain't thinking right. You
How
can't
crazy
tell
is
her that, you know, but I think maybe Brennan will talk some sense into her and be like, I've been here for the last 5 years or whatever. I've been working with Zayden and people, you know. Because we should expect that Zayden and Brennan knew each other before Zayden even ever goes off to school. Brennan would have been hanging out there for at least 2 years before Zayden gets conscripted.
How's Violet gonna react to Brennan?
She'd be mad at him too. She's going to blame him for her father's death. Until Brennan says Mama killed him or something. Oof.
Do you think Mira knows anything about this stuff?
No. I don't think so. Mira, I don't see Mira as the kind who could keep her mouth shut. And so if she knew about it, she'd be like, hey, what's the deal here?
Yeah. So. And she's also very, very soldier. Yeah. I have my orders and I do my part and I don't look at what the other pieces are.
Yeah.
You know, they compartmentalize and they just do what they're told.
Yeah.
Which is a necessary skill for a soldier. Yeah. But as we've seen in the real world too, very dangerous.
Yeah. You know, there's this trope in fantasy where families find each other on opposite ends of a conflict, and that's obviously real, but I'm looking at Luke and Darth Vader, and in the Aragon Dragon series, I think he discovers that the main bad guy is kind of his brother, maybe. Aww. And that's a very common thing where it's brother against brother. And this is kind of an interesting twist on that because Brennan shows up on the other side and then she joins that other side. And so the whole concept of family conflict is there, but now it's the mother.
And Mira.
And potentially Mira. And so I think probably Mira stays on the other side. But it's sort of a refreshing twist, I think, on that, you know, family war sort of trope.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Very cool. Can Andarna rebond now that her power has changed?
Yeah, so we never see Andarna again, except they say she's big now.
Yeah, she like grew overnight. Like what happened?
Yeah, we don't know anything about dragons growing. We don't know that what has happened to her is normal because we haven't like talked to Taryn yet. We also don't really know if Violet is like actually burned out or what's going on there. But she doesn't seem to have powers at the moment.
But because Zayden can hear Taryn, he knows that the links are all still there.
Yeah, you're right. So that'll be interesting to figure out.
So the bond is still there, but she just has to maybe suture those wielding.
Yeah, so like you know, there was kind of a comment about how her library or wherever she goes to was kind of like destroyed, like brought down, you know, like with all the power.
Right.
And so maybe she just has to sort of rebuild this new mental construct.
Jeez. I hope she's still bonded with Andarna.
I think she is, but Taryn made a comment before that like the Feathertails have powers that that other dragons don't have, and she's just grown up now and will have.
And they did make it clear that power, to be able to give her that power, would go away when she grew up.
Yeah.
So we expected that.
But is that how dragons grow up? Do they just...
Oh, just you go to bed one day and then you wake up the next, and
Yeah.
you know. Yeah, I hope Andarna's new gift vibes with Terrence. That's what Shelby says.
What if it just doesn't?
You know, and I think that was a smart uh, play by the author to not let Andarna be able to gift time throughout this entire series.
Oh, sure.
You know, because then there's a point where it's just like,
it's cheat codes.
yeah,
Yeah.
you know. And so I mean, it was amazing that it gave us a way to see that Violet will use these powers for good, and also balance that with how taxing it is on the dragon.
Yeah.
You know, and every time she used Indarna's power, she said, I only took as much as I needed and nothing more.
Yeah.
You know, and it was just building what we're going to see of Violet, that she will do what needs to be done, but nothing more. She doesn't crave the power herself.
Yeah.
So I think that was just an interesting tool that the author used. Like, it showed us Violet's restraint, but also she can't keep using it.
Yeah, sure.
Because that would just be we'd get tired of it by the end of the book.
Yeah. Shelby's over here using this cheat code thing to plan out her next needle, what was it?
Oh, yeah. Cross stitch.
Yeah, her next cross stitch. And
Darna's my cheat code.
Yeah, yeah, so all told, it was a great ride. I had a good time with it. There was a lot that I found refreshing. I think there's so much in fantasy that just follows the necessary tropes. I think even and just because most stories do, but fantasy leans into it more often. I want to do a video at some point talking about the hero's journey by Joseph Campbell, and like the archetype of a myth and of a story, and it's just so obvious in fantasy that these things are happening, but she made like an interesting twist on it, you know. Instead of like this confrontation with the father that you get in most fantasy, I think we're gonna have this confrontation with the mother, and the mother is not like this nurturing spirit, but the father was. There's some interesting inversions here that don't make all that much difference, but when you think about it, are really cool. I think the use of modern language was also very interesting, because it is exhausting sometimes to hear people say stuff. Also, and I don't know if this joke is going to fall flat, so I haven't made it yet. They every time somebody dies, they they commend their souls to Malik. I think is what they do. And in this game, Skyrim, which came out 15 years ago or whatever, but is one of the most popular RPGs of all time, and is about dragons, and is good if you would like to play it. They have these priests who run around, and every time somebody dies, they say, I commend your soul to Aetherius. And it's just the same thing, and I just think it's hilarious. That's all. Every time I read that line, I'm just like, because there's like a joke in the Skyrim community about like, I commend your soul to Aetherius.
Oh.
And then they do it here. So.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Oh, did y'all do the casting? Shelby's asking, who'd y'all cast as General Soaringale then?
Yeah.
Yeah. And now you have to find somebody for Brennan. So
right?
I forgot to do my casting, but I'll work on it.
Wendy Malik.
That's funny.
I don't know who that is.
Well, I just think it's funny because they commend your soul to Malik.
Oh. So I'm kind of wondering, you know, they have this like rule that when someone dies, you burn all of their belongings.
Mm-hmm.
And part of me wonders if that rule has come about because, you know, these soldiers know too much.
Huh.
And so it's, you know, burn all their stuff and don't keep anything, so we don't have these little bits and pieces like Book of Brennan.
Maybe. That makes sense. That makes sense.
Like, we only want history told in a certain way.
Yeah.
And it's controlled, and we've removed, just like all these banned books, you know, we've removed the parts of history that we don't want told, and the scholars only have the books that they have. And...
Yeah. This goes back to my comment last week or the week before about their public education system. And if you wanted to keep this secret, the right move is to not teach people to read.
Mm-hmm.
Riders shouldn't read, infantry shouldn't read. You can have your scribes. I'm on board. And then you have this sort of like weird like priesthood elite that you get in a lot of sci-fi and fantasy that are the keepers of the secrets.
Yeah.
But yeah, the ability for people to read is a huge liability in this cover up.
Yep. Which is Violet, you know, and
Yeah.
and it's just not just someone that can read, but someone who has access and
I
all her father's knowledge.
I like so you know so it looks like now we're at this dystopia, and dystopias are kind of uncommon in fantasy. In not like terribly uncommon, but because it's I guess it's common to have like a evil king overseeing people or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But it is a little uncommon to have a kingdom that appears to be good and then is not. So like in Brandon Sanderson's in the one about the metal people,
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember what that one's called. They have an evil king and everybody knows it.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's not really a dystopia. It's just bad, you know.
Well, like Harry Potter, the Ministry of Magic seems, you know, really cool,
Yes.
and it seems like a good system. But
Yes.
then you realize it's pretty corrupt. And
Yeah, but it's I don't know, but
pretty
you don't
messed
get
up.
like these cover ups like you do in science fiction sometimes, where you have these like you do get them, but like science fiction loves a good
Right.
dystopia.
Yeah.
And
Like
this
the Thunderhead series, Arc
Yeah.
of the Scythe, I recommend it.
or this one, the one with Christian Bale, where he it's a movie, Equilibrium. That's what this reminds me of a lot, where you have this government who's keeping people happy and safe, and then it turns out that they're just like getting rid of all the evidence of like who they really are and what's happened. And I think that's really cool. I like that a lot. I like when my genres meet a little.
Mm-hmm. Very cool. I'm trying to understand Peggy's comment.
Oh, she's making comments about things about people who can read. Yeah.
Yeah, Margaret Atwood. We need to read something by Margaret Atwood at some point. She's got a lot of good stuff.
Okay, sure. Yeah.
We'll take a recommendation.
Yeah. This is one of those books though where I feel like I need to process for a few more days.
Yeah.
And then I'll have more to say. But definitely looking forward to the second one. We're absolutely going to do that.
For sure. Now, if we read the second one, we're committed to read the third.
For sure.
And that means that we need to emotionally prepare ourselves for like the second book slump. You know, like Hunger Games, the second book.
I don't think it's happening.
Couldn't even tell you what happened in book 2 of the Hunger Games.
Yeah.
Nothing happened.
This lady understands pacing in
Yeah,
a way
she
that
really
I don't
does.
think other authors do. And
On the Goodreads thread that we have for this book, Peggy said that at the end of, I think it was the first section of the reading, where it stopped, she out loud said, "No!" because she wanted to keep going. I did that too, I think at both stop points.
Yeah.
I mean, this author is just, she knows how to play our needs and our wants, you know, and she keeps us wanting more.
Yeah.
And that's something that I think writers forget to do sometimes, you know.
Yeah. I think, you know, part of it is that, especially when you have a romance, you have to write this like second act breakup where, and then everybody gets together and that's just the way it works. And I'm really hoping that because we got the breakup in a weird spot at the end of a book. And so my hope is that we show back up 5 months from now in the second book. And we have a chapter or two of that just so we can get a taste, but that we can skip most of that nonsense because I'm tired of it. It's in everything. And they've already been kind of like on again, off again. She's done a great job of making the relationship turbulent. I don't think we need like the breakup that is standard.
Well,
And I think she knows that.
Because we're at war, people.
Yeah. Well, and maybe that's what the second book is. Maybe we just split up a bit and then we don't have to deal with it. I just don't want to deal with it. I just don't care.
No.
We all know y'all getting together.
They'll keep it professional.
Yeah.
They'll hook up one good time for chapter 10. Maybe they'll let the dragon's emotions take over or something.
I don't know. If you're not going to get together, just kill one of them.
No, but
Just
then
kill
they'll
them.
both die.
Kill them.
And then in book 3, they'll have figured out how to balance, you know, war, good communication, and a relationship, and it'll be great.
Maybe.
They'll be little baby shadow lightning riders. uh, gosh.
Well, do you have anything else that you'd like to cover?
Peggy said, dude, read Harry Potter. I'm with Nicole with that look you just got. There aren't cover-ups. It's just because you've only seen the movies like halfway.
Yeah. I mean, that's fair. That's fair. And yeah. And Harry Potter is interesting because it is almost it is a blend of sci-fi and fantasy.
Yeah.
But
A little bit.
Yeah. I'm excited about doing another fantasy sometime. I really am.
Okay. So. Yeah, so y'all keep some recommendations coming in on other fantasy series. Because this was something that we feel like we did not hit well in season 1 of Books We Never Read. We didn't get... The only fantasy we really read was...
if you want to say Anansi Boys is fantasy.
Yeah, but it was really more...
magic realism.
Yeah. My words are not working today. You're doing great. Filling in the blank.
Got it.
Let's do Harry Potter. I'll never say no to that.
So the trick is that we're supposed to do books we've never read.
Right, and I have definitely read Harry Potter.
And I've probably heard all the audiobooks by this point, but I wouldn't know it. So our next book, we're about to film the syllabus for that, and that is Wrong Place, Wrong Time by Gillian McAllister, like we mentioned earlier. And I think we want to announce that we've already gone ahead and picked our next book after that.
Yeah, since
Wrong Place, Wrong Time is going to be a 2-week read. My mom finished half of it in 2 days, and so if she can finish it in 2 days, we can finish it in 2 weeks. And so we've chosen the next book because there's a movie coming out of it soon. And we have chosen All the Light We Cannot See. And I have no idea who wrote that.
And I mean, to be fair, it was on my Goodreads list for a long time.
Since the beginning.
Yeah, but then we saw that there was a show coming out. And I was like, well, this is a good time for us to go ahead and read it so we don't ruin it by watching the show first.
Yeah. So we'll go ahead and get that out of the way so that we can watch the show. And then move on from there. But we'll have an official syllabus and all of that.
But you can go ahead and
but just letting you guys
secured.
Know. Because technically, we would just announce it again next week.
Right. So, quick turnaround over here.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else in the chat?
Doop.
Please start snack attack.
Yeah, it's right there.
It's so high quality.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just crazy.
Yeah, we love it.
It's so good.
Cool. Well, I think that's about it for Fourth Wing. I'm glad you guys enjoyed it. I'm glad we picked it because I'll be honest, this was a Google. Like we just Googled.
A random one.
We can worry about it.
Sorry, I will frame it, Shelby. It just hasn't been framed yet.
So definitely excited about the second one. We'll figure out what the release date is for that and then try to plan our reads accordingly so that we can read it pretty quickly as soon as it comes out.
Yeah. Shelby is talented, for sure. All right, guys. We'll post our syllabus for Wrong Place, Wrong Time.
Right now.
Right now. Happy reading. Happy recovering from this book. I know you're going to be thinking about it for a while. You're going to be worried about Andarna.
Yeah.
You're going to be worried about Taryn.
Yeah.
You're going to be sad about Liam. There's a lot to process. I'm very sad about Liam. That really
Book 2, Liam comes back.
Broke my little heart. It really did. I really liked him.
I liked him too.
And I knew as I was reading it, I was like, I know someone has to die. Someone that we love has to die. Yeah. And he was really the only option.
There's only 3 characters that you care about, really.
And okay, oh my gosh. Okay, so I'm not ready for us to move on. Hold on. In book 2, we haven't even talked about this.
What?
Okay, so when you know the truth, like Plato's allegory of the cave, right? You know the truth. You got to go back and tell the other cave dwellers what the reality is, right?
Okay.
Rhiannon.
Yeah.
The second year that had to redo first year.
Mm-hmm.
Riddick.
Mm-hmm.
All of our bestest friends.
Yeah.
What's going to happen? Who's coming with us and who's not?
Yeah. I don't know. Because we don't even understand how this really works. Will Xaden even let her go and tell people, we've rebuilt a city and nobody's caught us? There's still so much.
But they've been going back and forth.
I know. So.
Are they going to go back? Can they go back?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
I thought we were done, but this was all.
I think Rhiannon
Bubbling
joins.
around. You
Like,
think so?
why not? It's still not clear. It depends on what resistance means. It is not clear. Like, are they going to fight a war again so that people can know about the venom? Because that's dumb. I do not like that idea. If they're going to fight a war because the government is lying about war and is using it to oppress people, blah, 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 whatever. Okay, cool. There was a now here we go again, right? There was a fantasy series, and I don't remember what it was called, but the idea is that everybody wore these like necklaces or something, and it was like their ID basically, but it would siphon magic off of people, and that's what like the mage class used to like power everything. And like what if it's something like that? Like what if the wards are keeping people, what if it's doing something negative to them? Because right now there's only positives. Like, yeah, sure, it's a government that's lying to you, but like this is a pretty sweet place considering the rest of the world. So pick your battles. There has to be a negative. If it's just we want people to know the truth, sometimes it doesn't matter. Sometimes the truth doesn't matter.
Yeah, it doesn't help you.
Yeah, who cares?
Yeah.
So
Interesting. Sawyer. Thank you, Peggy. That was second year who had to do first year again.
yeah,
Peggy's always here to fix us on the people's names.
yeah, but yeah. I think it's about it.
Oh, man. Okay.
Yeah, we got to do the thing because you got to go. So
Oh, yeah.
we got to
Alright.
keep moving.
All right, you guys.
Yeah. There was
Seeing this a little.
There was like a bonus episode right there at the end.
Sorry, but it just, there's so much to talk about.
There is a lot to talk about. And I know we haven't covered it all, and that's okay.
I know.
All right. Well, we will see you guys next week. Go ahead and check out the syllabus once we have it out. It will be relatively short. And start reading that next book, Wrong Place, Wrong Time by Jillian McAllister.
Yeah.
We'll see y'all then. Don't say nothing crazy.
You don't say nothing crazy.